All right, and we're rolling. So, you've got some stuff regarding hedgehog, and I think that ties into exactly what I feel compelled to talk about today. And it comes on the heels of a text I got from my agent maybe 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, hey, quick question. How are you engaging your audience? And I said, well, right now, we're pretty much just doing a podcast. And she said, podcasting is great. However, the publisher that I'm trying to get you a deal with requires at least 1,000 email subscribers. And right now I've got like 100. And so then I was just thinking about like, okay, well, then it just spun me back into the messaging, which is something that I think that I have struggled to articulate clearly as far as exactly who it is that you and I are talking to.
Sure.
And
we've tried to flesh it out, asking questions but it is still, it's still kind of.
It's kind of like, it brings me back to when Stone Cold Steve Austin in the WWE was figuring out who exactly he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he went through a lot of different iterations before he finally came about as Stone Cold. And it was a great story that he told in terms of how he came about his name. The story doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but he said, I knew I had something, I just had to find it. And then as soon as he found out his name, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the rest is history. Anybody who grew up in the 90s, you know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. He's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling when it's all said and done. Anyways, I say all that to say, I think that's somewhat where you and I are searching. We know we've got something. I just don't know if we've clearly found who it is that we're talking to. And with you bringing in and wanting to talk about and also me a few weeks ago wanting to talk about the hedgehog concept, I think we're getting closer.
So, yeah. I kind of prepped for the hedgehog concept and all of that, and I was going to play the contrarian to you, because.
Let's do it.
So, I like the concept. I think it has some great points, but I don't think it's the be all to end all. And I think it kind of oversimplifies reality a little bit. Business is messy. The three circles are really clean. Real life's not clean. Market shift, market changes, skills change.
Mm-hmm.
What works today may fail later. What worked for me 25 years ago does not work today. So I think, and I've thought a lot about, my grandson is doing track this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was all locked in on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Football in the winter, baseball in the spring. He was baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you had told me, shared with him, talked to my daughter about, is that don't lock in onto something too early.
In terms of instead of specialization in sports,
right,
as youth.
Yes. But I think that can kind of. I think that the hedgehog model is really, really good for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's really, really good for people.
And it kind of goes against what we talked about in our very first official. We've been doing this for a few months now, but like the first official podcast that we put on spot, which was about range.
Right.
Right. And being dangerously well-rounded.
The Renaissance man.
And being a jack of all trades.
Right.
And all of those things. So it kind of goes against that. Yeah, and maybe it is speaking to just the businesses rather than the individual, because it is about a book. Because the book is about business.
Yeah, I think so.
Book being Good to Great.
Right, Good to Great. I'd encourage people to read it. I'd encourage business leaders to read it. I'd encourage them to deploy great parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not, I like mission statements. I have a little problem with mission statements is that sometimes we get this big, I'm going to pull 5 people from, my stores, and we're going to sit down and we're going to have a great meeting, and we're going to pound out a business statement, and then we're going to post it on the wall in all the stores, and we're going to send out emails, and we're going to do this. And then it becomes almost embedded in bedrock. And I think sometimes mission statements, you need to, I think it's great. I think there's a lot of good points to it, but you need to, evaluate it yearly.
So then if you've read the book Good to Great, he then talks about towards the end of the book in terms of some built to last concepts in the book Built to Last.
Right.
And it's called the yin and the yang, which the yin of it was preserve the core. And then the other piece of it was, I'm going to butcher it, but it's about being able to adapt and change.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, we have the hedgehog concept, but you can preserve the core, but then you can change as needed as long as the core is preserved. So now we're getting a little bit tangential, but I interrogated myself a lot this morning and used ChatGPT as well. So just kind of going back and forth just as far as what exactly is the messaging for Artistic Warrior and who exactly am I talking to? And part of it isn't just for the book, but it's also very much for, I'm coming up on a bit of a timeline here. I've got a sermon to give at the end of May, and getting the clarity on this thing would really help. And I think the people that we're talking to, David, not sure if it's only fast food. I think it's high performers in low places. And I think because of, I think that are we talking to the Josephs? Right?
Yeah,
those high performers in low places who want out of where they're at right now, but they have a responsibility to stay where they're at. But at the same time, philosophically, responsibility shouldn't feel like selling your soul.
Right. No, I like that. I think I've always gone to this is that I hope this message was broader than just QSR. That there are pearls in leadership that are universal.
And for the people who aren't familiar with Joseph, what we're referring to is the story of Joseph in the Bible, where Joseph, talk about a high performer in a low place. He was in prison for a long time because his brothers had sold him out. And then all of a sudden, just one day, bang, he's Pharaoh's right-hand man. And he brings peace and prosperity to the land because he's telling the Pharaoh, like, hey, these are what your dreams mean, dude. Like, we got to do something about this. So are we talking?
But that, that overnight kind of thing wasn't overnight. I mean, he was in Egypt for decades, So he was in low places for a long time, when he was sold into slavery. It wasn't like he was sold into slavery, went into Potiphar's house.
I'd have to reread it.
And the house, and then the wife made the moves on him and yada, yada, yada. And then he got thrown into, that was not a week. It wasn't 2 weeks. It wasn't a month. It was decades. That before that whole being raised up thing. I say that to say, don't be afraid to put in the time. I think that what happens sometimes with people is that we go into a situation, I'm using myself as an example, and I want to see success now, tomorrow. Instead of saying, I want success tomorrow, but instead of saying that, I'm going to focus on success. This is the thing I like about the hedgehog concept, is that it can bring clarity. It pushes focus, don't you think?
Yes.
So.
But to your point, the book talks about there was a lot of iterations that happened before a company finally lands on what their hedgehog concept is, or was in this case, in this past tense. And so, again, just to clarify what the hedgehog concept is, and David was mentioning these 3 circles. Inside these 3 circles is a statement. And so inside one circle is what you can become deeply passionate about, right? Emphasis on become deeply passionate about. You're not just chasing whimsy, right? What can you become deeply passionate about? So that's essentially developing the skill set that all of a sudden you begin to fall in love with. And for me, that's leadership, and it just happens to just be in QSR. What drives your economic engine? Which essentially is answering the question, per what? How much profit do you bring per X, right? And that's what they're talking about in the book. And then the last piece is, what can you become the best in the world at? So those 3 interlocking circles make up the hedgehog concept. And I hope that some of the discussion today about that, and then also some of the messaging piece, we can start to bring more clarity as far as who it is that we're talking to and the problems that they struggle with and how we can potentially help them.
Right.
So
I like the first circle a lot. Like I said, I'm going to be contrarian, right? For businesses, great.
Mm-hmm.
For people, the economic engine thing, success isn't necessarily all about money. And you and I have talked about this a lot, and you're looking forward, I'm looking back a little bit, and I've shared with you my biggest successes to me now aren't necessarily that, I had a multi-million-dollar business and, made this much money, and that my biggest successes, the things that drive me, are the people that I was able to raise up. There's not a dollar amount on that. So for the 3 circles for business, great.
Mm-hmm.
For individuals, broaden your idea. The other one, I think that be the best in the world at, that's too vague. That's too vague, and it's too relative. Are you the best? Who is the best in the world at basketball? MJ? Is it LeBron? Is it Wilt? Is it, it depends it depends upon where in their careers,
But there's a distinction there. It's not asking what are you the best in the world at, it's what can you become the best in the world at. So what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
For me, the profit per X question is profit per transformation, in terms of I'm helping people go from this to that, right? You mentioned raising up. I had a one-on-one with my direct report. My quarterly assessment was this past week. And when one question she asked me, she just said, how many people have you promoted? I mean, she went through all the managers. She was like countless team trainers, all of these things. Like, that's what I do.
Right. And that's, you can't put that necessarily in the bank and, groceries for the family and put gas in the car with that. So there has to be, an economic aspect to this. But I wouldn't encourage people to limit it to that. We know too many very rich people that aren't happy. Cars and houses and money in the bank and nice clothes. They have none of that. They're happy people there. Those are people I like to hang around with.
So then who are we talking to? I was going. So
keep going.
Keep going?
Yeah, you keep going.
So whenever I'm working on a project or a book or something like this, I always go back to a brand script. And what a brand script is, because I'm a certified copywriter, that's just the tool that was given to us to learn when I was going through the certification process. And so there are really 8 steps to it. Like writing, I start at the end. So what transformation am I trying to create? Am I taking I'm taking somebody from what to what? And it can be an aspirational identity, like from manager to leader, or it can be something more internal, like stuck to secure, something like that. Okay. And then from there, I have to figure out what is it this person want, this character? What does the person want? Because a story is a character who wants something and has to overcome conflict to get it. So I have to figure out what that person wants. And then from there, the conflict, i.e. the problems, are layered in 3s. There's the external, the internal, and the philosophical. So the external problem, for what I was trying to figure out this morning as I was behind the computer, was they want out. They want out of their current position. But the internal problem is that they feel stuck, and they can't afford to. And also they're doing so might make them feel irresponsible or guilty. And then what came to me at the track, because I just got back from the track, what came to me when I was working out at the track just now was responsibility shouldn't feel like selling your soul. And that's kind of where I'm at a little bit. And it's just like, man, like and so that's why I'm asking you. It's like, what is it that these people want that we're talking to? Do they want out? Do they want more? Do they want something?
So I'm gonna apply a biblical concept here a little bit. I want to be better than I was yesterday, and next week I want to be better than I was a week ago, and next month I want to be better than I was a year ago, or a month ago. It's called sanctification. Biblical concept is sanctification. I think that the store that you're at right now are so happy that you're there because you are leading them from A, to B, to C, to D, and I think that's the concept, is that we're going to help you become better than you were yesterday in leadership, in just in being a man, being an artistic warrior. So no or not?
Maybe. What is it that the artistic warrior wants? I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what the hell is water? Is it so close to me that I don't even see it?
To me, the artistic warrior, or any man, but especially the artistic warrior, the guy that's the man,
creative,
capable, that they want to be a little better than they were yesterday.
It's more than that. I'm not shitting on your idea.
I know.
It's like when I know it, when I hear it, I'll know it.
Okay.
Like when the piece, the philosophical problem that came to the track, like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
100%. Responsibility should not feel like selling your soul. Damn, that one hit. Like, we should be able to work backwards now. If that's the philosophical problem, then what is it that they want? If that's the philosophical problem, the internal problem is they feel stuck, they feel trapped, and so much so that they're kind of feeling guilty or perhaps even irresponsible for looking elsewhere than their job, especially if it's a job and or industry that redeemed him.
Yeah, that's, and that's hard. I mean, that's, I'm going to break away and do, talk to the third wall, the fourth wall here. This is kind of like Hunter and I, we're letting you in on how Hunter and I kind of brainstorm, so, we're kind of bouncing stuff against the wall, but hopefully you can enjoy this as how we talk sometimes and brainstorm. So we're letting you into our world a lot, and
it's like, what am I actually looking for? What am I actually looking for? Why have I put open to work on my LinkedIn? Why have I looked at other opportunities? Is it Is it freedom? Is it not wanting to be micromanaged? Is it not wanting myopia with unrealistic expectations? It's like, what is it? What am I, like, what? I'm going to share an anecdote because I think it's going to help.
Okay.
Right? Facts tell, but stories sell, right? So what would a high performer, how would a high performer react if where they were at was a lot of micromanagement, a lot of myopia, and a lot of unrealistic expectations? Well, they probably would feel hamstrung. They probably would feel like, I can do way more than this if I was just given a longer leash and a little bit of grace to get this thing going in the right direction rather than stepping over dollar bills to pick up pennies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would probably start looking for other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the company that they're working for says, what in the hell are you doing? And then also says, okay, well, that promotion that you're up for, we're not even going to consider an interview unless you stop looking for jobs. So like, what the hell? So then I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm trying to get down to the crux of the problem, which is, what is it that I want? Because if we're trying to help people, then the easiest thing that I've done when it comes to this sort of thing is making myself the prospect. Right? Because really I'm trying to find that guy or gal that's like me, because that's what business is. You are marketing to people that are like you. Why? Because then when they know, like, and trust you, they will buy from you. Right. And then when you're marketing, you're going to come to a place where there's the guide portion. Because after you talk about what it is that they want and then list out the external, internal, and philosophical problems, then they're gonna be like, okay, like, what does Jay Abraham say, the marketing mogul? If you articulate a problem in such a way that the prospect has never heard before, they instantly think that you have the solution.
Right.
And so then when you position yourself as the guide, you have to do two things: display empathy and then demonstrate your competency or authority in the subject. That empathy is a big piece because you're saying, I've been where you're at. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's why I say all that to say, I'm talking to myself.
So, same thing.
What is it that we want? What does the artistic warrior want? What is it they want? What do they want? Because it's more than just because I want to be a full-time novelist. But it's more than that.
Right.
It's more than that.
I mean, I think that for me, it's, I want to keep improving every day.
Is it something simple? I want to be heard. Am I not being heard right now? Is nobody listening?
Are you making an impact where you're at right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not enough.
That isn't necessarily what I want. I don't want, it's not that I don't like making an impact. I love making an impact. Mm-hmm. I love the people that I work with because the people at this location, and I'm not glory chasing.
No.
But they genuinely love me.
Right.
And I genuinely love them.
Yeah. I mean, it's night and day, some of the conversations we've had the past week or so, in terms of, not that you didn't love, I mean, you were more specific in your love when you talked about it, or your admiration, or from the unit you were at. This one feels like more all-encompassing when you talk about this unit, and that there's so much potential there, and how excited you are. Mm-hmm.
It's got to be. I know I know it is right in front of my face, David, and I am just completely blind to it. So let's look at a different example. When I was in the gym business, very simple: what a kid wanted and what their external problem was. Mm-hmm. What a kid wanted to get faster. External problem, slow. Mm-hmm. Why? Like, very simple, right?
Right.
They want to get faster, but the problem is that they're slow. And that makes them feel invisible in front of their coaches. And then the philosophical problem was like, kids in high school should not be feeling invisible, especially if they want to play in college, all of these things. I mean, that can hurt a kid's confidence for a long time to feel invisible in front of a coach. Like, so, I say that as a comparison to here. It should be simple, and I feel like I'm missing it. I'm missing it. If the external problem is that they can't afford to leave, or I think that's the external problem, isn't it? Because I can't afford to leave. If I were to leave, well, then who's going to provide for the family? That's a problem. Yeah, and since I can't afford to leave, and since I don't have a way out right now, I feel stuck. I feel trapped. I feel. But then there's some other.
So I'm gonna.
There's other things, because it's
right.
like two things can be true. I can be incredibly grateful for where I'm at right now
and want to be somewhere
and
else.
still be dissatisfied.
Sure.
Right.
But the same thing too. I the two words that popped into my head right now when you were talking about that. There is a big difference between settling and contentment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people think they're the, opposite sides of the same coin. So what I'm saying is, you feel you're not where you want to be right now.
Is that the want?
Yeah, they
don't want to settle.
They don't want to settle, and they're having a hard time how to be contented without settling. How to be content where you're placed right now without settling where you're placed right now. We're throwing things out. So how to be content without settling, I don't know. You just said, I want to be here. There's a difference between want and need, I want to be here. I want to do this.
It's kind of like praying for one life, providing in another.
Yeah.
Providing in one life, praying for another.
Yeah, this is it, at this season in your life, this may be where you're supposed to be. So if at this season in your life, if this is where you're supposed to be, make the best of it. So there it goes back to the hedgehog thing. Be the best that you can be at where you're at, but don't settle. Settling is not just taking the willing to work off the LinkedIn page.
Mm-hmm.
Settling is taking the willing to work off the LinkedIn page because I want to work and be content within the system that I'm in and do the best that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
Settling is taking it off and not looking.
Which is where I was talking about the philosophical problem. Like, responsibility shouldn't feel like selling your soul.
No.
And that's how it kind of feels. That's
right, but it's not.
It's not. It's like, well, fuck that. Like, that's,
yeah, I mean, you got very upset about that, and you felt like you were being controlled, and people are telling me what to do. All of that BS.
Mm-hmm.
No one can control you, but obviously God.
Mm-hmm.
So and then yourself. So if you're in His will, you can do all things if you're in His will.
That brings up another philosophical distinction: how you live life on your terms without abandoning His will.
Yeah, well, this isn't a Bible, but there you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love when people, I am an evangelical, charismatic Christian. I have a lot of Pentecostalism in me. So
I don't know what any of that means.
I know you don't.
Can you
So
explain that?
charismatic is a worship style. Mm-hmm. Pentecostalism is somewhat of a belief that it is very speaking in tongues, dancing,
mm-hmm.
Being slayed in the spirit. It's a very a very experiential Christianity. All right. And I think sometimes what happens is, and I'm going to stay with me, folks, because I want to bring this back to business. Yeah. So I think sometimes Pentecostalism is so experiential that we're always looking for an audible word from God. You know, I want to feel him hold my hand. I want to hear him in my ear. You know, that we forget that we've got 66 books in a library that are a word from God.
Yeah.
You know, so then, but then on the other side of the coin, there are denominations that are so Bible study that they don't have the experiential side. You know, they're so caught up in their own knowledge. You know, like the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they were the most theologically knowledgeable people in the world at their time.
Yeah.
They knew more about the Torah than any other person in the world. They had to memorize that. You know, they had to be able to quote it back word for word just to be considered, you know, in a Sadducee, a priest, right? They knew so much about theology and about the Bible, yet they missed the Messiah. So bringing it back to business, be the best that you can be where you are now. That doesn't mean that you may go somewhere else. So don't settle, be content. Don't settle, but do your best. I've had too many people, too many employees that QSR is not for me. This job is not for me. You know, that quiet quitting crap, right? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there, and you're going to take them and you're going to gel them.
Yeah, not wanting to settle is close. I think we're getting closer with that. What do they want? What is it that they want? What does the artistic warrior want?
What do they want?
What do they want?
So if we apply the hedgehog concept, they want to be the best in the world at something.
Yeah.
But what is the world? Is it be the best that you can be at where you are? Be the best in your neighborhood? Be the best in your city?
I take it somewhat literally.
Be the best in your state.
I take it somewhat literally.
I mean, you know, it's.
Are you hearing what I'm saying?
You take it literally, yeah.
And so I to me, the best in the neighborhood, best in the city, best in the state doesn't apply to me. Like, I actually do want to be the best in the world at something. I just don't know what that is.
So you want to be in the best in the world at something.
Yeah. What can I? Which per the book, the language. What can I be the best in the world?
Right. But the artistic warrior wants to be the best at something. But the artistic, you know, every single artistic warrior can't be the best at the same thing.
No.
So they want to not settle.
Keep going.
I'm pull the book. I'm turning it over in my head. So you don't settle, but be the best that you can be at where you're at without settling or compromising. Help me.
Yeah, I'm just
help me.
I'm reading this Artistic Warriors Part 1, Part 2 right now in my book, and I'm trying to figure out.
This is so good.
That's good. Yeah, I really like this. I really like this.
It's so good.
This cigar as well.
Yeah, that's good. So
do they want to help other? What is it that the artistic warrior wants? Do they want to help other people stop self-sabotage? Do they want to help? Do they want to help other people? Do they want to help other people be redeemed as much as or more than they have?
So I've always wanted, I would get frustrated with some managers that we had, or district managers, whatever, leaders.
Yeah.
That were so afraid of their people being better than them. Oh, right. And that, you made the comment before we started.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, so you're going to have to help me. That you told your team that I don't need to be there. Right?
Not needed, but wanted.
Not need, yeah.
Yeah, they said they don't need me. My AGM texted me and said they don't need me,
And
but they want me.
Right, but so
it's not that we don't need you, but she said, yeah, she's like, it's not that we need you to do the physical work, but we need you. We need the positivity. We need the proper leadership characteristics in terms of when there's a problem, not looking to place blame, but getting pissed off enough to try and find a solution, and then immediately fixing it. Things like that I think that are...
Say that again.
Getting pissed off.
Say about the blame and the fixing of the solution.
Not looking to place blame, but getting pissed off to try and find a swift solution and doing that expediently.
That's the role of a leader, though.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know that. It's weird. I mean, I don't know.
A leader in I have to be really careful here, because one of the things that my wife, 40 years next week,
40 years.
In 1 week, 40 years.
Yep.
My wife, countless times throughout my career at Subway and being a leader and, being the boss, I would have to take a step back sometimes, because my wife would check me and say, I'm not one of your employees. Don't talk to me like. And sometimes they just want to be heard. Maybe not necessarily looking for you to solve something. They just want to be heard.
So is that what the artistic warrior wants? Does he or she want to be heard? Are they not being listened to?
Yeah. I think a lot of people that have that in that leadership thing, you can be an artistic warrior no matter where you're at.
It's like, okay, I'm not being heard, but I also don't have a way out. So I feel trapped. I feel stuck. I feel irresponsible for even thinking about leaving because this industry redeemed me. But
you're not. I think you're conflagrating settling with contentment. You are not settling. You're not being disingenuous. You're not being dishonest by being the best that you can be where you're at.
Say it again.
I said I think you're conflagrating contentment with settling. You are not settling by being the best you can be with where you're at. Doesn't mean that you're not looking to move on or grow or anything like that. But you are going to be the best that you can be. I'm going to be right now, I am a food champion at Taco Bell. That's where I am right now today. I'm going to be the best food champion at Taco Bell because that's where I am today. I'm not going to be a food champion for the rest of my life. May not even be a food champion in 2 weeks. But right now, today, I'm going to be the best food champion that Taco Bell's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be, and this is, I'm trying to tie in the hedgehog thing here too. I am going to be the best RGM that Taco Bell has ever seen. And I'm going all in. These are concepts and words that we've used in past podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Taco Bell's ever seen. Doesn't mean I'm settling. Doesn't mean I'm going to be an RGM for the next 30 years. May not even be the RGM for the next 3 months. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not settling. I'm going to be the best. No?
I don't disagree with it. I think that might come later on when, after the guide shares how they empathize with the prospect and then demonstrates competency or authority on the subject matter, and then gives them the plan, put God first, go all in. I think that fits under go all in.
Right.
I think that fits under go all in. Don't know.
So tell me your 3 pillars again. Put God first. Win.
Run race.
Run your race.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what we want to do, hopefully, through this book and other things that we may recommend, is to help you find what you want. Now, like Joseph, maybe we can talk it through the artistic work and, the goal of huntercharneski.com. Please go there and sign up for the email list. But the goal of that, the Artistic Warrior website, is to help you find the artistic side of Warrior. I think most people that go there are already, they have that warrior mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that warrior mentality, I think it's in a lot. I think it's in a lot of men already. It's built into our DNA. There are men who are, I think all of, there are some men that I'll write them off, but I think it's kind of built in already. Help you find what you want, the artistic side of it. No?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Does the artistic warrior want to live life on his terms without abandoning God's will? Is that it?
I think that's the struggle. That's
That's the problem.
That's the big struggle, is I want to live life on my terms. That my is the struggle. Mm-hmm. Right there is the tension, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Between God's will and my will. And that's the tension. Because sometimes my will ain't God's will. And I'm going to struggle against it.
I think there is a way to do it, though. And so that's sort of...
How can I make...
How can you live life on your terms without abandoning his will? Like, let's say, like...
No, I want to rephrase it just a little bit. How can I make God's will my passion? Because sometimes I think that's cross purposes. My passion and God's passion for me are cross purposes. And I don't want to go to heaven and say, God, we know when we go to heaven, the Bible tells us that where there's going to be tears in heaven. Because there's a specific verse where it says Jesus will wipe away every tear. That doesn't happen until we get to heaven, right? But he'll wipe away every tear immediately. That'll be gone. But I think that crying part, that tear part, comes when we see what his will was for us versus what our will was. And if we had only submitted, submission to God is not a bad thing. Yeah, I think men fight against submission a lot.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
That was a good one.
I'm throwing stuff against the wall here, Hunter,
That was a good one.
and I think that how can I turn God's will for my life into my passion for my life? And that doesn't mean that, we know a lot of people who have God have placed in certain positions, and that's where he has placed them, and they're going to be there, but there are many examples in the Bible, especially with the disciples and with the apostles, where, okay, I am placing you here in this city. Now you're in Corinth, or you're in Philippi, or you're here, and then 3 weeks later they're gone because they were called somewhere else. But there are also people that have been placed, and that's where they've been placed, permanently. So the artistic warrior,
The external problem, if the philosophical problem is responsibility shouldn't feel like selling your soul, the internal problem is feeling stuck, trapped, even irresponsible or guilty for searching for something else. But the external problem is does the narrative transportation get lost then if you're saying that they can't afford to leave? Does that make sense? You can't afford to leave, so you feel trapped, you feel stuck. You feel irresponsible. Responsibility shouldn't feel like selling your soul. And so then what is it they want? If they can't afford to leave, or so then what do they want? If the problem is they can't afford to leave, then what do they want? What do I want?
So if you can't afford to leave, so we're at two different points. Yeah. Good question. I really need to think. So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a husband and a dad. I mean, and it, it took me a while to. So I knew at a very young age I wanted to be a husband and a dad, right? I got married young, had kids young, wanted to do that. I mean, and it sounds, I don't think it's, it doesn't sound like what typical toxic masculinity, sow your seed kind of shit sounds like, right? But I knew that I always wanted to be a husband and a father. Knew that from a young age. And I feel that that was my calling, and that's what God planted me. And there are peaks and valleys, but 40 years later, it's kind of cool. But so that was what I wanted to be. That was where I felt I was placed. Everything else around that then was if I wanted to be a husband and a father, part of being a husband and a father was to be a provider. So I wanted to be a husband and a father. That's where I was placed. That was my passion. That's where I wanted to be. So I didn't struggle as much with the feeling stuck part. Does that make sense? Okay, I want to be a husband and a father. Husband and father is a provider. So the way to accomplish that, I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to accomplish that part of it. And, if I have to accomplish that in QSR, I'm going to accomplish it in QSR. If I have to accomplish it in the hospitality, I'm going to accomplish it in the hospitality. If I have to accomplish it by door dashing, I'm going to accomplish it by door dashing.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of, I never, that part of having a job where I felt I was stuck, I never felt I was stuck in a job. There were times where I felt underappreciated. There were times where I felt my direct reports were idiots. And there were times where it's like, yeah, I could do this job so much better than you. And I know I can, and I know I'm more talented than you. But I never really felt stuck, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the fortunately, it's like God found me, I found a career that I liked and provided greatly for that place where I felt I was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm oversharing.
No. Or is it just as simple as something like, let's completely change the narrative.
Right.
Sharon, my agent, said, hey, we got a really big publisher that we want to pitch your book to, but they ain't going to talk to you unless you get 1,000 email subscribers. Okay. So then is the want for the artistic warrior an audience?
Sure, I think so. For any artist, no matter what your art is, if your art is architecture, if your art is writing, if your art is music, if your art is painting, if your art is acting, if your art is whatever that is, you're not an artist unless you have an audience. I mean,
no, it's not a successful one.
Right. I mean, yeah, you can.
It's okay to tie success to money with art.
Yeah, it's okay to tie success to money. There's nothing money.
Right.
Money is just a tool. The love of money is the bad place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Money's a tool. That's okay. So, but you can't be an artist without an audience.
So does the artistic warrior want an audience?
They want an audience.
That's what they want. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, well, and they want to find what is the warrior part. I think that can be answered by a lot of people. I think it's that combining the warrior and the artist together.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cusp of where I think you can help.
Well, there's a lot of perseverance that you can draw from the warrior side. A lot of perseverance that you can draw from the warrior side. Mm-hmm. But maybe not an artistic warrior.
Right.
I think the artistic warrior wants an audience.
Right.
They know they got something good. They're gifts from God. They know that. He knows that. The only problem is he doesn't have an audience. He's not being heard. So then is it that he wants to be heard? And the extra problem is that he doesn't have an audience. And so the internal problem is that he feels stuck somewhere in there. And then I'd have to digest. I'd have to think more on the philosophical piece. And we're coming up on our time now.
Yeah,
I got to get going.
You got to be somewhere.
But what I might do is I might come in and just do a solo episode tomorrow and as a part 2 to this, because as David alluded to, he's got 40 years coming up next week. So he and I won't be able to do this next week. So I might just come back and do a part 2 by myself tomorrow.
So leave a 5-star rating.
Yep.
Go to huntercharneski.com and apply to
yeah. So I mean, if you get any value out of this whatsoever, then please go to huntercharneski.com and sign up for the newsletter, because we got a way better book in my opinion. I mean, obviously the more times you do a thing, you're gonna get better at it. Book 2, I would hope, is better than book 1.
I got to read some of the drafts of it. I loved it. I mean, I was more into reading the book 2 than I was in this one, even though I like this book. Yeah, book 2.
Yeah, please dream responsibly is the name of the book.
Yeah,
What was the old,
minivan.
oh yeah, that might be a part title, part 3 or something like that. Anyways, yeah, we'll probably do a part 2 tomorrow with yours truly. So that's that.
Thanks.
Bye.